Hello, everybody. My name is Brandy Stark, and I am the founder of the Spirits of St. Petersburg. I'm an active paranormalist, and on top of that, I am a professor and an artist and a writer. So I always love October because there is something called haunted waters or haunted lakes that are presented as usually TikTok videos, but they talk about various dangerous haunted waterways. And in tribute to that, I just wrote an article about a local lake in St. Petersburg, and I thought that I would share this. So this is what I've written. The dark side of Mirror Lake. Every October, folks inquire as to the most haunted spot in town. Some ask if it's the Vinoy or Don Cesar, the Sunshine Skyway, or the Greenwood Cemetery. While these all have wonderful spectral stories, the truth is that one of the most eligible areas I have encountered in Pinellas County is Mirror Lake in downtown St. Petersburg. I first heard of the haunted activity in 2010 when somebody told me that on the night of the new moon, there's a lady in white who shows up. She's a ghost. She stands on the shore. She looks very sad and forlorn. If you try to approach her, she vanishes. Some people say that she actually walks into the water and disappears, or that she walks into the water and comes out on the other side. So I thought this was pretty fascinating, and I wanted to follow up a little bit with what was going on with Mirror Lake. So I have an archivist, thank you, Christy, who actually went through and basically helped me to compile a list of all of the deaths that have happened at Mirror Lake. Now, here is a little bit of history about the lake. It likely started off as a swampy depression in the earth that was later expanded by locals to hold stormwater and runoff. When Tampa became a holding station for soldiers in the Spanish-American War, the lake turned into St. Petersburg's primary water source, so we weren't getting any water from Tampa. When the city developed a municipal water department in 1899, the site became Reservoir Lake. So Mirror Lake starts off as a runoff lake, then becomes our reservoir. Now, the first dark twist that I found starts in May of 1914, when the body of a man named W.M. Boone was discovered. His body was in the water. He had been shot, and somebody had cut his throat so badly that his head was nearly severed. The following year is actually when the lake is renamed. The city has outgrown Mirror Lake as a reservoir, and we don't need the water in the same manner, and so they moved the reservoir to a different location. So the lake is actually renamed Mirror Lake because it has a very placid surface, and that name was actually proposed by Catherine Bell, a member of the Audubon Society. And so this is adopted as a name in 1915. That same year, however, huge amounts of rain in August and a lack of proper drainage caused Mirror Lake to flood. So beyond this, it was actually a hot spot for downtown St. Pete. We get City Hall and Carnegie Hall Library right on the shores. The early St. Pete High was built there. That becomes St. Pete Condos. Or Mirror Lake Condos. You get the Unitarian Church. There's all of these areas. And of course, the funny thing is that St. Pete High / Mirror Lake Condos, alleged to be haunted. The library by Mirror Lake, alleged to be haunted. We did an investigation at the Unitarian Church. It's haunted. There's a shuffleboard court that's also near the lake. It was a very popular tourist destination, also alleged to be haunted. So all of these areas around the lake are also supposed to be haunted. So this is something really radical. But as the city grew, so did the lake's fatalities. In 1933, a man fleeing police jumped into the lake and drowned. 2 years later, a notorious murder happened, and it might be the source of the Lady in White legend. In September 1935, the body of a 38-year-old nurse, Myra Hasten, was found in Mirror Lake. She had been beaten and her face mutilated with a pocket knife. Before her death, she was last seen going on a drinking spree with two men that she had met. The nature of her death made it a social media sensation, a media sensation, pre-social media, and it was followed by readers nationwide, and it culminated, I actually think, in the arrest of three men, but the two men that she was seen with. Even though she was not wearing her uniform, the memory of a nurse, who would have been clad in a white uniform at the time, may linger in the minds of the public and provide fuel for the rumor. Others believe the mysterious apparition was of a student who attended St. Pete High and died in a tragic car accident. Her spirit is forever trying to return to the school she loved. At one time, the spirits of St. Petersburg postulated that the ghost could be the result of another murdered woman, Marcia Elliott, age 29. A popular waitress and budding jewelry maker, she was known for walking her dog, Angelet Basset Hound, around the lake. Her body was discovered under a tree at the shore in July 2004. It was labeled a homicide that resulted in the conviction of the man accused of her murder. However, an eyewitness who worked adjacent to the federal building witnessed the crime scene, and the physical description did not match. But these are still not all of the deaths. So I think the core of the urban legend is the nurse, but here we go. The 1940s saw 3 more drowning deaths. The body of a premature infant girl was found. The 1950s saw the drownings of 2 people and a suicide of the 3rd. Reports of mysterious exploding fish in the lake also occurred because the lake had methane gas bubbling up and the fish were getting caught in the gas, absorbing it, floating to the surface, and exploding. The 1960s saw 10 deaths, including 1 possible suicide, a definite suicide, in the body of a premature baby boy found on the lake, by the lake. 1 woman attempted suicide but was rescued by a passerby in the 1970s. There were 2 deaths and 1 possible suicide at the lake. Vernice Viola Brown, age 64, was also murdered and thrown into the lake in August of 1974. The 1980s had 2 more drownings, and 2 men were murdered in an apparent weapon-drug dispute nearby on Arlington Avenue in 1986. The 1990s had 3 more deaths, including Michael Schurmeister, age 45, who was found at the lake dead from blunt trauma to his upper body in August 1997. Post-millennium, the deaths did slow down, I'm happy to say. Aside from that of Marcia Elliott, there was an intoxicated transient who, after attacking an 81-year-old woman, attempted to evade police by jumping into the water, and he drowned in April of 2009. An unidentified man was reported as running into the lake and drowning in May of 2016. In 2019, a man fell asleep on a park bench and never woke up. In 2020, the Spirits of St. Petersburg went down to the lake. We were doing the National Day of Ghost Hunting, and it was COVID, so we wanted to socially distance, and we wanted to do something outside. So we just put out a call to the public. Everybody had to social distance and mask up, but they were given EMF meters and told to walk around the lake and tell us where they found areas of activity. Almost immediately, people said there's a connection between the lake and the library, which would make sense because the new part of the library, the Carnegie Library, is supposed to be haunted. And on top of that, they picked out this area with a rubber tree. And the rubber tree is a very, very old tree in the area, and it is used by indigenous unhoused populations as a natural shelter. Subsequently, I have gone back with ghost tours, walking ghost tours, and actually gone to the tree with EMF meters. We've actually registered the area, which has no EMF. But by that tree, if I go through a list of names, particularly the name of Eric Hall, who was one of the transients who died, I think he was the one who ran into the lake, the meter will spike. It will actually say that he is there. So we'll say, is anybody here? Is Eric Hall here? We'll get a response with the meter. Then I will ask, are you happy? The answer is always yes. Is there anything that you want us to know? And I think once or twice the message came through to somebody that he just wants to be remembered. And that's it. So we still have some ghostly activity. But now here we are in 2025, and with this compiled list of names, not all of which I have mentioned, I would like the team to go back to Mirror Lake and take another look and see what we can find. But if you want to talk about a haunted body of water, we've got almost 30 deaths there, some suicides, some murders, some accidental drownings, some bodies found there. And this is not even talking about a murder in front of the library and in some of the other parts of the area. There's a serial killer who left bodies nearby. The area is really nuts. So that is my haunted body of water story for Haunted Lakes of October. And I'll try to tag the lady who does those videos as well. Sorry it's so long, but there's a lot to tell.